assisting South Sudan in domesticating the block treaty. And doctors report increase in patients affected by high fever and dehydration.
جدد لعدد من الدول الشقيقة وصديقة.
In building a strong
their credentials today have expressed their gratitude and the gratitude of their countries for the stability of the world in the areas of diplomacy.
The ambassadors congratulated President Kiir on his peace efforts and expressed their commitment.
His mediation efforts in the region, not only in Sudan but also in the eastern part.
The historical ties which we have had between the two nations, and I've also congratulated the President.
Water treatment plant. Last month, we inaugurated the Albino Bridge in Juba City, and we'll be working on two.
في بذل قصارى جهدي لتحقيق أفضل النتائج للرفع من مستوى العلاقات بين بلدينا في مختلف المجالات.
Canada shares.
Cluster in its regular meeting chaired by Vice President Dr. James Wane Ega listened to the presentations by the Minister of Water Resources and Irrigation country.
Between both countries, and it will benefit human and livestock consumptions. This document has.
Yes, Umbarika na mulkating you cut.
Notice that in this regard, private sector is less considered in this Republic of South Sudan, whereby the
and unregistered pharmaceutical entities, the government has taken decisive action through announcing new directives aimed at tackling irregularities in the medical.
All medical practitioners in the country must meet regularly and professionally with the human health, and therefore professional competence must be ascertained beyond a reasonable doubt.
For our health of our body. I remember a few years back, like ambassadors for this day, we have to make sure, starting from our own houses, to preach to everybody to observe dental hygiene.
We also
focused on participation of women in the upcoming country's national elections in December 2024.
The non-resident ambassador.
We spoke about the importance of women's participation, women's political participation, women's participation in the forthcoming elections, and the real importance. Country Ireland has strong female representation in the diplomatic system, in our political system, but I also want to commend South Sudan for its quota of 35% female participation.
Bilateral relations between Juba and Addis Ababa. Discussions primarily focused on enhancing security along the common border. Remarkably, the attendance of the South Sudan of IGAD Forum of Ambassadors and the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, has called upon South Sudanese leaders to engage in dialogue and address critical issues of democratic progress in the region.
We have encouraged the Aratigo. We have a few months to go to elections, so we're encouraging them to come together.
The backdrop of growing levels of food insecurity and alarming temperatures, the Minister of Presidential Affairs, Joseph Bangasi Bagasoro, calling the importance of cooperation in addressing the interlinked crisis of food, climate change, and forced displacement in the country. The Undersecretary in the Ministry of Environment, Forestry, Joseph.
Or how to address climate change. We need to have a comprehensive study of our own environment. Inform citizens now. Every citizen must.
If those projects are implemented in this country, I think we'll be able to adapt to the impacts of climate change.
And I really believe that bringing to I think this kind of a gathering and this kind of an exchange is really how we continue to move forward.
And coming up, the United Nations Office for Project Service assures its commitment. Welcome back and thank you for tuning in. The United Nations Office Dr. Kuyok Abol Kuyok acknowledges the importance of the meeting in accelerating joint cooperation between the two institutions.
In order to provide construction of schools in some of the hard-to-reach areas in the country, they pledge to support that.
We had a very interesting conversation around to have access to procurement services, high-quality procurement services that can enable them to move faster on their path towards their development goals. So with regards to education, we are very keen to partner with
the situation that is in Pachola and Greater Akobo, where our returnees came from Ethiopia, and they are there in a big number, lacking Nazali specifically, some of these counties, Gogrial East, Gogrial West, and even Yuriva.
I spoke to the minister about the situation in Gogrial East and West as a result of recent clashes. We spoke about that this is enough without having to deal with the fallout of man-made hunger.
Moving on, the East African Legislative Assembly
in the East African community that has actually accepted all East Africans to work and to move freely. No discrimination where they come from.
After becoming the sixth partner state to the East African community on the 1st of October 2016, the country was to continue
a date, maybe 2 months from now, because they have to consult as to when they will brief the assembly and members on the state of domestication of the treaty.
They need to be assessing, for the council to assess the standard minimum of people to start to do business in East African community.
With the growing need for...
So with that, the best to do is for us to make sure that the treaty is domesticated by having it passed by the council as well as the Transitional National Legislative Assembly.
For the 2019, Right Honorable Speaker, the trainings were very short, less than 1 to 2 days.
South Sudan has remained reserved in the full implementation of a...
The story is coming up. Prevention, which involves more than 80 countries and groups, including South Sudan. Its speakers at the debate have passionately advocated
of Korea, Romania, Rwanda, Saudi Arabia, Sierra Leone, Slovenia, South Sudan, Spain.
Economic and political stability. Its speakers highlighted the urgency of stopping conflicts from erupting and escalating to spur future.
Urge all nations to prioritize and invest in preventative, considering both global and national contexts. We believe that engaging women and youth in conflict prevention not only
a comprehensive approach rooted in national ownership to address local needs and root causes while urging relevant United Nations bodies. Discussions were based on cooperation and preparation for the national elections in the country. Speaking to the media, JICA Senior Advisor Dr. Kishi Hashimoto.
And they have already begun their training, and before the date of the election is fixed, I think
the importance of this seminar is to help the journalists know how to access information in regards to the election.
As part of bridging gaps in inadequate office spaces. In a statement, the managing director of Nile
commissioned a floor state-of-art Nilepet headquarters iconic building inaugurated by President Salva Kiir Mayardit this month. The Nilepet
making sure that everyone is taken care of, every government document is controlled and protected until we transition here. This is the legacy. You have to then now look at the movement plan. So I put together a committee that had the plan for each of the department, the size of the offices, the number of offices, the department that reports to the MD office have already moved here. But I actually divide myself. I work here some days, some hours I work in there. We want to be the hub of the oil and gas industry in the region, which is our neighbors here, and also in the continent.
When you have a place to work, it makes your work easy. You can find like 40 date of the commissioning of the building, which was Saturday. So on Monday I was already in this office. And MD also was already here.
Building constructed by Zhanghao Overseas Construction Engineering Company Limited for 7 years at an estimated cost of $27 million would relieve this.
SSBC's Daniel Marengweg reports.
The impact of heatwave is already visible here in Rumbek town. People are not able to move from one place to another, and students staying indoors observing the precautionary guidelines issued by the authorities.
ناس في خطر حتى الآن يعني ناس متحيرة هنا تستخدم شنو عشان يقدروا. See this weather now is still hot. Weather is too hot. If we have a lot of trees can protect us from this wind. You see when the wind comes, it comes very hot.
The hospital choose to sleep outside the rooms, which they say does not help to cool the rooms because of the too much hot weather.
In order to open the school again, we had the public, especially the parents, in order to keep their children indoors.
Because of this high heat, the cases meningitis is reported. After a thorough deliberation, decided that the Minister of Health, the Minister of Education, and the Minister